Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeroen van Bree. I am a management consultant at a firm called in Amersfoort. And I'm also a PhD candidate at Nyenrode Business School. And this is the subject, more or less, of my research, the managerial relevance of games and game design. I thought I'd share a few quick thoughts with you on that subject. And to introduce it, because I'm one of the first speakers to talk about World of Warcraft, I thought for those of you perhaps in the audience who do not know it, I'd show you a very quick video. And those of you in the World of Warcraft community know this one, I'm sure. It's the infamous Leroy Jenkins video. I'll introduce it to you if you don't know it. This is Leroy. Pay attention to Leroy. What you'll see when I start the video is a team in World of Warcraft discussing a strategy. They have to do a run inside, they have to do a task in this game. And the leader is saying, okay, we have to do this and this and this. Don't try to follow everything he's saying because it's all World of Warcraft mumbo-jumbo, but he's discussing the strategy, but Leroy is out. He's away from his keyboard, he's getting something to eat downstairs, and he misses this whole strategy meeting. So at one point he runs in, and, well, see for yourself. I apologize in advance for the swearing, by the way.
Okay, guys, these eggs are giving us a lot of trouble. In the past, does anybody need anything off this guy, or can we bypass him?
I think Leroy needs something from this guy.
Oh, he needs those devout shoulders. Isn't he a paladin?
Yeah, but that'll help him heal better. He'll have more mana.
Christ. Okay. Well, what we'll do.
Having some trouble with the video.
I'll run in first, gather up all the eggs so we can kind of just, blast them all down with AoE. I will use Intimidating Shout to kind of scatter them so we don't have to fight a whole bunch of them at once. When my shout's done, I'll need Anthony to come in and drop his shout too, so we can keep them scattered and not have to fight too many. When his is done, Bass, of course, will need to run in and do the same thing. We're going to need Divine Intervention on our mages so they can AE. So we can, of course, get them down fast, because we're bringing all these guys. I mean, we'll be in trouble if we don't take them down quick. I think it's a pretty good plan, and we should be able to pull it off this time. What do you think, Abdul? Can you give me a number crunch real quick?
Yeah, give me a sec. I'm coming up with 32.33, repeating, of course, percentage of survival.
Oh, that's a lot better than we usually do.
Alright, thumbs up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins!
Oh my god, he just ran in. Save him!
Oh, gee, stick to the plane.
Oh, Jesus. Let's go.
Stick to the plan, Shove.
Stick to the plane.
Oh, gee. Oh, fuck.
Give me Divine Intervention.
Hurry up.
Shout.
He's saying I can't cast. I can't move. Am I lagging, guys?
I won't show you the whole thing. They all die in the end. But the key phrase there was stick to the plan, stick to the plan. But anyway, that's World of Warcraft. For those of you who didn't know it, that's what goes on in that game. If you look at games, it's always interesting to look at it in different levels, because what you see on the screen is not the whole story. There is a core in a game that is the rule set. That is what happens in a game, what can happen, how the game reacts to your actions. Then you have that content that you see on the screen. And a lot of people get distracted by it because they see these dwarfs and they see these dragons and they say, okay, this is not interesting for me. But then they miss out on this outer layer, the gameplay itself, and that is where these interesting things take place that, of course, we'll be talking about today, and that Tony has talked about already. There's new leadership going on, there's teamwork, there's decision-making in a different way. And that's, of course, what's in the media at the moment, and what's in some of the reports that will be discussed today. So if you look at that, and if you say, okay, there is something interesting there for organizations, there are different levels to look at it. And you can look at it at a very literal level and say, okay, I see something in games that is a technology issue. I see they have all kinds of information on their dashboard. I see they have real-time communication, and I want to use that in my organization as well. That's a very literal way to look at it, and I think it's Personally, I think that's not the way forward. That's not the most innovative way to look at it. A different level is to say, not look at it as a piece of technology, but say there's behavior going on in these games that is interesting. And I would like to see that same behavior in my organization. That's also a way to look at it. It has some issues because the context of a game is, of course, completely different from the context of an organization. So you have to find a way across that barrier. The way I like to look at it, and here I collaborate with Marinka, is to look at it one level deeper at the design of this game. How is a game designed? And can we learn something from the design of games for the design of organizations? And the design of organizations, or design thinking in organization theory, that's a broader trend. It's not something that I came up with. This is also from the design thinking articles from the Harvard Business Review of this month. So there is a stream, a current going through the organization theory that says you have to think as a designer, as a manager. And why is that? Because our organizations still have a lot of remnants, a lot of pieces of very old structures that were developed maybe 100 years ago, but a lot of that is still in place in a lot of organizations. But times have changed, and those structures are not sufficient anymore. So yes, there is a need for new organizational designs. So getting back to the games, you could say, okay, what can we learn from game design? And there are just two things that I like to point out as game design principles that I think managers can learn something from. And one has to do with this figure that I showed earlier, with the different levels of a game. If you design a game, then you're actually designing what goes on in that outer circle, the gameplay. But a game designer knows that he cannot design that directly. He has to go back to the inner layer, to the rule set, and then see what goes on in the outer layer. Is that what I expected or what I wanted? No? Okay, then I'll go back to the rule set. And that is the process, basically, in game design. It's called second-order design. So you're not designing something directly. You're not designing that gameplay directly. You're designing it through something else, which is the rule set. When you look at managers, I think they can learn a lot from this process because they tend to have the impression that they can design behavior. And they come up with these kinds of charts. And they say, okay, now I've designed a procedure and now I know what goes on in my organization. But of course, that's not the case. So this second-order design could be an approach for a manager to think differently about how they design their organization. A second brief thing I'd like to say about gaming design is that there are some principles in place that are also mentioned in the report, the IBM report. You have, of course, direct feedback always about things that you're doing in the game. You have a lot of information at your disposal. And one of the most important things, of course, in a game is this recoverable loss. In World of Warcraft, if I, with my level 1 priest, run into a monster that is a bit too big for me, I die. But, of course, I can take my ghost and run back to my corpse and go back to what I was doing. And this leads to a behavior that you can call informed trial and error. It's not just blind risk-taking. No, it's taking information that's at your disposal, developing a strategy and trying it out. And if it doesn't work, okay, no problem, I'll try something else. And that is a very important strategy in a game because that's how you learn the game. And that is also important for organizations because that's how organizations can learn as well and how they can innovate. So I'd like to leave you with this quote, which might also be an encouragement to the students that will be presenting. It has to do with organizational learning and not being afraid to make mistakes. So thank you.
Thank you very much.